Okay, so today I'm going to be going over an A1260 MacBook Pro with no backlight from 2007. The only reason that I am doing a repair video on this steaming pile of shit is because I'm going to need this footage for a later video. So I had planned on doing a video where I go through every single Apple laptop over the past 10 years, and I point out what's been wrong with them for like 5 or 6 years running. So I say a lot of things about why I don't use Apple laptops. I don't get into the software because software is opinion, but I do get into the hardware discussion because that's not opinion. It's simply fact that a lot of these are just manufactured like shit. So what I wanted to go over with the 2006, 7, and 8 model, one of the things I wanted to do in that video was include something about the hinges. So the thing is, I need to actually show you the flaw, which means I have to have one open in front of me. And I realized that I don't actually have any in the store anymore. So I've been waiting for somebody to walk in with one of these. We do not service this model. It is a complete steaming pile of horseshit in 2016. Everything on this machine is this close to being dead. If you fix it, it will be a complete nightmare for your customer. So I'm actually fixing this for free so that when they come in saying, this doesn't work anymore, it's not like I have to even argue about whether or not, that they paid for something that doesn't work. It's literally going to be, you didn't pay for this, therefore, what do you want from me? So they're going to wind up getting a free no backlight repair. But before I go into that, what I wanted to discuss in this model, again, everybody's familiar with the terrible, god-awful graphics chips in this here machine. But everybody knows that already. But what they don't understand is the hinge design of the screen. So again, a lot of people will say that the Apple laptops, I'm not getting into the software, not getting into that because that's opinion. I'm just going to stick to facts. People will say that they're better made. This machine was about $2,700, depending on how you configure it when it came out. And the way the screen is designed is actually much worse than what you can buy on a $400 or $500 Lenovo ThinkPad at the same time. So the way a lot of sensible laptops are designed is the hinge will then screw into the back plate. The screen will screw into the frame, and then the frame screws into the back plate. The reason that the hinges screw into the frame is because the hinges themselves, they're going to be moving a screen back and forth. And the screen is very heavy. So you don't want to screw the hinge into the frame, which is a very sissy part of the machine. I want you to think about this. So you have the screen itself, which is heavy, at least in these older machines, it's much heavier than in the modern machine. So the screen is heavy, and you need to screw that screen into the frame. So what you're doing when you're putting holes in it is you're weakening the structure. So let's just see if I can get this thing to go on manual focus, so that I can focus this properly, because it's going to be a complete nightmare dealing with autofocus. Or not. Here we go. It's actually working pretty well. So see that there are holes in the frame over here? There's a hole in the frame so that the screen can get screwed in. Now, here, let me just unscrew that so that you can see what's going on. And the focus is going to look really screwed up here, but oh well. So I'm going to unscrew the first screw so that you can see why this is bad the way this has been designed. Again, I don't like getting into the opinionated matters. I'm just going to stick to facts here. So the issue is that when you make a hole in the frame, you're now weakening the frame. So instead of this being a frame that goes all the way up, now this frame only has this. This is hard to do with the mirror image. You see, you only have this thing over here, and you have this little, really, really pathetic-looking piece of metal that is very, very thin. Come on, focus. There we go. And you see how when I move it back and forth, you see how it's cracked? So let me just get a pointer so I can point to the exact thing that I mean without going out of focus. This is super hard in a mirror image when I'm looking down. Okay, so like right over there. Zoom in further. See this? See this? Now watch what happens when I move that part. See how it's cracked? Back. Manual focus. Screw this. Manual focus. Alright, see that? That is fucked up. And the reason that's fucked up is because it's been weakened by the screw hole. Now, obviously, you need to have screws for the frame. Obviously, you need to have screw holes for the frame, or else you'll have no way to put the screen into the laptop. So you may be thinking, well, you need to have screw holes in your frame. Why are you complaining about that? Well, the fact that there are screw holes in the frame is not what caused this to crack. What caused this to crack is the fact that on this laptop, the hinge goes directly into the frame. So again, I should have stayed over here actually. So see this? This is the hinge. This is this fucked up converter cable that we have to use because the Apple will not sell the original screen anymore. So, you know, if you want to fix this machine in 2016, you have to use a PC screen and a Mac. So ignore this and ignore this. This was a custom-made cable that I had made a long time ago. But this is the hinge. So the hinge is screwed directly into the frame. So here's the problem with the hinge being directly screwed into the frame. The problem with the hinge being directly screwed into the frame is that when you're moving this heavy screen back and forth, instead of putting pressure onto this really, really thick backplate, this thick and sturdy backplate, you're putting pressure on that tiny, itty-bitty little piece of metal. Because again, you're not putting pressure on this, on something that's like, you know, a straight piece of metal. You're putting pressure on this little, tiny little piece of shit that's like a hair thin, because you've put a hole in the frame. And when you do that, you have this problem where they break at the bottom. And you can see here, let me just get the front of it zoomed in on so you can see that. So I'm just going to go back to manual focus here. Manual. And we will take a look at what the front of this piece of shit looks like. Because they all do this. They have these lines where you can see that it's been cracking over time. In the right lighting. So you see this? You see that little fracture? You can see that little line across. I just can't tell what exact focus is, so I'm just going to move it in and out so that you can get an idea. You see where my thumb is? There's a fracture over there. And that fracture is a result from the frame cracking on the bottom where the hinges, where the pressure is. So when you're moving this back and forth, you're putting pressure on the bottom where the hinges. So that's just one of the many things that makes this machine not a good. Here's the thing. This would not be a shitty machine at $300 or $600. It wouldn't, because there are a lot of PCs that have really dumb design. But at $2,700, this is, in my opinion, fucking excusable. You can't do this stupid shit and charge $2,000 to $3,000 for the product. This is bullshit. And it's just being. You have a lot of PCs where they have those really crappy grommets. You know what I'm talking about, where the hinge screws into the backplate, but the backplate has these really crappy grommets that just break off. I'm aware of that. I've dealt with all those cheap Toshibas and Acers, and what was the other? And HP. Oh god, HP is fucking awful with that shit. I'm used to it, but again, that's with a $300 to $600 product. I expect the $300 product to suck. I expect the $600 laptop to suck. I don't expect the $2,700 laptop to not understand the basics of how this shit should work. But it is what it is. And, you know, this is not something that is like a one-time-a-year occurrence. You know, when these machines were popular, this was shit that you were seeing 3 to 6 times a day. And, you know, again, Lenovo has managed to make the backplate and the grommets so well that on their... I remember buying a ThinkPad SL410 for about $350 6 years ago, and it doesn't have this problem. You won't find Lenovo ThinkPads that have this problem. Just to give you an idea, I have a Lenovo ThinkPad. Yeah, this is a T520 here. This is my old piece of crap. But it has been dropped so many times, like ridiculous amounts of times, off of a ladder. And you'll see over here that while it does have a little bit of a bend, see when I'm moving it back and forth over here, it's kind of, yeah, see it as a bend, but it's not it's not broken. Like, look, I'm jerking it back and forth. That doesn't sound right. I should edit that out of the fucking video. But you can move this back and forth. I can't believe I said that on camera. Really hard. And it's still not broken. It's just the way they've constructed this is great. And this laptop, it cost me $750. I was a cheapskate. I bought the cheapest configuration of the T520 with a coupon code in 2011. You know? It's just one of those things. Anyway, we're going to fix the fact that this has no backlight. I don't even have a schematic for this. I sure as fuck am not hunting for one. That is not worth it. So on this machine, you have, I'm not even gonna, it's like, I'm doing such a shitty job of doing a component level board repair video. So you have screen cable for data, and then on that, and then there's another cable that plugs into the this little LED driver board that then plugs into this screen cable here. So you see you have 2 lines coming from here. You have the you have the LED light line, and then you have data. So the LED light line comes from this little piece of shit cable over here, which comes from the left I/O board, which has a fuse on it, which I'm guessing is blown. So we're going to replace that and see if it's... Alright, so let's put this piece of garbage computer somewhere, like right here. On the floor. On the floor. You don't... The A1226 doesn't deserve to be put on a desk. It's a piece of shit. So we're going to get out the microscope. Move out the microscope. And let's take a look here to find this little fucker. So we have a white fuse over there. For some reason, my microscope is in black and white. This is funny. I think my microscope actually disagrees with me doing this video. Like, it's protesting the fact that I'm fixing an A1260. It is protesting. Yeah, it's in black and white. I probably have to restart the computer or something, and I'm not doing that for a A1226. See? The A1226 and A1260 computer is such a piece of shit that not only does it fuck up the graphics on its own motherboard, but it actually destroys the graphics of the computer that's filming the repair of it. That's something else. You can't make this shit up. Look. A1260 killed my graphics. Killed my graphics chip. That's fucked up. That is fucked up. So we're going to get rid of the old fuse. Should I even bother turning on my hot air station for this? This machine doesn't deserve a hot air station. This board does... These old boards do not absorb heat like the new ones, so working on them is a lot easier. So now I have to get a fuse. Is it worth getting up and getting a new fuse for an A1260? Actually, I don't have any fuses left, so I have to steal it from something. Alright, so let's take a fuse from another board that has a fuse that I need. And we'll put it on this one. All right. Hey. Oh, and speaking of being a piece of shit, anybody remember what it's like getting that I/O board back into this pile of crap? Oh man. Oh, this is a horror. This is a fucking horror show. Getting this back in here is always a fucking horror show. This is such a piece of shit computer. This was a piece of shit when it was new. This is a piece of shit now. And I'm a piece of shit for making it work again. I needed to do that video though. So I got my footage, And I'm going to be doing that for every single year. And not to be mean, it's just, I like that's the thing. People say that when you say these things about these companies, that's mean. You have to realize that fans, real fans, I don't mean fanboys, but like real fans of a company, want the company to produce better stuff. So what real fans do is when something doesn't work the way it's supposed to, or something is not as good as they think it should be, they will complain, not because they are being mean or because they hate the company, but rather because they want to see the company succeed. So if you want to see a company succeed, you will complain about the stupid shit that they do in the hopes that they correct it. Like, fans don't blindly say, oh, everything you've done is amazing. Oh, yes, please keep making machines that die after a year or two of use. Give me this, give me shittier hinges and no schematics and overheating crap and dead graphics chips on 2006, 7, 8. 10 is the capacitor, not the graphics chip, but 11, 12 Retina. I can't wait to start seeing the watch what happens with the 2015 Retinas, by the way. That's going to be something. So the 2015 Retina, the 2013 and 14 Retina was very stable. And Apple realized that they had actually produced a product that wasn't a piece of shit for once in their life. So what they did is they made pretty much the same motherboard, except the fan itself stays off while the computer's booting, and it stays off until you start doing a lot of intensive stuff with the machine. So I think what happened there is they figured out that they had actually made a machine that works properly, that has good the 13-inch Retina has good thermal properties, and they correct. All right, so my 85-watt charger died earlier today. I don't feel like fucking around under my desk right now, and the older ones need the 85-watt. So I'm just gonna plug the battery in, and I'm gonna unplug the hard drive so that I don't kill this 100-something gigabyte pile of crap that is right about to die. That's the thing. People go, why don't you fix older stuff? Why are you being mean? Yeah, because you know who gets blamed when that fucking 9-year-old drive dies? You. That's who. Do you know who gets blamed when you do what somebody asks you to do? You. All right. God damn it. I had to walk up to the front since somebody walked in. But yeah, that's it. Working backlight on old pile of shit. And yeah, don't start walking in thinking that we fixed these. We do not fix these. I'm fixing this because I needed to do a video of the frame. Yeah. And I'm telling you again, like everybody's on this whole rant of let's fix everything, let's fix the world, let's not throw things in the trash, and here's what I'm saying: you can do whatever you want, but how about you do the customer service when they come back? And because the jackass computer guy that replaced my screen on my 2007 computer will not replace my 2007 hard drive that's clicking with bad sectors when it dies. How about you find me parts for these boards? You find me MCP 79s and MCP 89s that don't beep for the 2008 MacBook and MacBook Air. Like, you find me this stuff. Because if you want to say that you want to fix the world, that you want to be a part of fixing everything, that's great. Like, make a fabrication plant where I can get all this shit again, or else just go away and leave me alone. That's just something that just drives me crazy, this like whole fix the world movement. Everybody wants to fix the world, but nobody actually wants to deal with the reality of fabrication plants and manufacturing and how all of this stuff works. Because surprise, surprise, a facility that costs billions of dollars to build from the ground up for the sole purpose of manufacturing an MCP 79 is not going to be left open once an MCP 79's worth is like $2. It's going to stay open when that chip is worth 100 or 150 or 200 or 250. But they're not going to stay open just for the historical archives of the world, so that at any given time we can print that stuff. It's just not the way the world works. The reason old stuff is fixable is because it's all based on very, very standard design. If you have If you have, let's say, an audio amplifier, almost everything in that amplifier is just standard and doesn't change over time. You can buy that transistor again. You can buy 0.005 ohm resistor again. You can again find me an MCP 79. Like, good luck.